Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the forest. I'm glad you all are here. Uh, this evening, I thought we would do a little bit of a check in. And this past weekend, I was in Blowing Rock with my friends. It was awesome. So good. I kind of had a thought about how I really need to do a little check in. I usually do it at the beginning of every month. I think it's really important to do a check in with yourself to think about what kind of progress you're making in life. Because if you don't do a check in, you don't know where you are or what you're doing. So, by the way, I'm Brian, in case you don't know who I am. I spend a lot of time in my forest. Uh, I don't own this forest. I do say my forest. I don't own this forest. It's a forest that's behind my house. I think it's owned by the county. So when I say my forest, I don't mean I own it. I mean that it's the forest that I go to. So sometimes I do call it my forest, but that's why I don't own it. I wish I did. Um, but yeah, I was in the mountains this weekend, and I've been doing a lot of thinking recently. And I thought, well, I want to bring up a topic, and I think it's good just for us to do it all together. So this is going to be a chat. I'm going to post it tonight, actually. This is in the morning. And I'm going to post it tonight, so I want to make sure I give you all some time to think about these things. I'm going to talk about my scenarios, but as you're watching this, I want you to think about your own scenarios in your own life and, take time to take notes if you want to. This is going to be kind of like a little think time together. And if you're watching this video later, which I imagine most folks might be, um, just watch it as if you're watching it live with us, because I think that'll be really helpful. I did bring my notepad so that I could keep notes and, talk about that. Um, and when I do a monthly check-in, and I'm going to show you a picture here, I've talked about these planners that I use. I like to keep my current planner, 2025, with me. I recently, because the planner I buy, they were kind of worried about, they produce things in China, and they were worried about whether or not tariffs might impact that. I mean, honestly. And so they got their planners out early. So I went ahead and bought my 2026 planner. And I always keep my 2024 planner, 2024 planner around as well, because I like to look at where I was this time last year, especially since last year I got sick. It's good for me to look back on what I was doing this time last year and think about where I was and what I was doing. I did notice, by the way, I got this little microphone. I might talk a little bit about that too, just the progress I've made this month. But when I use the microphone, I don't think you can hear the water from the waterfall, which I love. That's why I did that first little scene so that you can hear the water. It sounds beautiful, but you can't hear the birds chirping and all that now. But I think you can hear me better, so that's why I'm doing that. Each month, so I try to do it at the beginning of the month. Today's the 11th of August, so you can tell I'm a little bit behind. I sort of did it, but I didn't do it here, and I want us to do it together. Um, and the reason it's just so important is like you got to check in. For me, I like to do it monthly. If you're in the middle of the month, start on a Sunday, start on the first day. Some people like to start on Mondays, whenever it is, just kind of do a check in because, like I asked that question, are you controlling time or is time controlling you? And if I'm not careful, I'll get to the end of the year and be like, where'd the year go? What have I done? I haven't done anything I wanted to. And so I constantly have to check in, make sure I'm on progress, making progress on task. In the corporate world, we did that a bunch. I had to do monthly reports, and that sounds horrific. I like check in a lot better. It's more suitable for me. So I usually, at the end of one month, I look at the past month, and then the first day of the first month, or the next month, I look at what I'm going to do for the next month. But we can summarize that in 3 questions. That's why I'm looking at this now. And the questions are, what did I do well this month? what were my biggest challenges, and what's my focus for the next 30 days. So I want y'all to kind of think about that, maybe write it down, what did I do well this month? What were my biggest challenges? And what's my focus for the next 30 days? And, for me, what I did well this month. I mean, first of all, I'm thankful because this past month I got to go to the mountains twice. Um, I went for my birthday to Johnson City, Tennessee. Then this past weekend I went to Blowing Rock, North Carolina. My buddy knows some folks that have a really nice Airbnb up there, and it's really great to get to go there. And as far as this YouTube channel is concerned, we have 8 new subscribers, so I really really appreciate that. And a great thing for me is that now I'm up to 16 subscribers, and that's really cool because that's doubling the number of subscribers. So I think that's really awesome, and I really appreciate each and every one of you all. So those are kind of some of the wins for me for this month. So what about you? What were some of the things that were your wins for the past month? What are some things that you did well this month? So think about your life and just take a moment to reflect, maybe write down uh, what went well for you this month. I'd like to know. Leave some comments and let us know what went well for you. We'd like to celebrate those wins with you. What are my biggest challenges? And that's the whole reason I'm doing this is I realize since I'm doing this YouTube channel, and I don't know if any of you all have ever tried to do a YouTube channel, but I want it to be fun. I want it to be fun for me. I want it to be fun for you all. I want it to be educational. I want us to all grow together. And I noticed as I was watching other YouTube videos on how to be successful at making YouTube videos, I started getting caught up in the numbers. I started getting caught up in honestly comparing myself to other people and their channels and their performance. And that is not a good place to be if you're doing that. And this doesn't matter where you are in life. You can be, like we've always talked about, keeping up with the Joneses, and whether I'm out working out at the gym, like luckily because I was sick, I learned to not compare myself to others at the gym. But for some reason, I'm doing that with YouTube, and I'm seeing people that have been doing, a YouTube channel for 2 months, like me or less, and they have like 15,000 subscribers, and it's easy for me to look at that and be like, well, what am I doing wrong? And that's the wrong thing to do. And so that's one of the biggest challenges I've had this past month is, not staying focused on the goal. The goal is not about the numbers and comparing myself to other people. My goal and why I started this channel to begin with is to talk about gratitude and to talk about my journey of healing and sharing that with you all and the importance and the power of having gratitude in your life. And it's interesting because, when I was first sick in November of last year, through December, January, February, I was so sick and relied on other people. March, April, May was kind of when other people were forgetting that I had been sick and expecting me to be normal, and I wasn't, and I still needed help. But now I'm finding that I myself am forgetting that I've been sick. And, I guess it's a good thing to have happen. But at the same time, have you ever been to like a little conference where you get all jazzed up or something, and you're like, yay, I'm ready to go. And then a few days later, you've kind of lost that momentum. It's almost like for me now, I've forgotten how grateful I was, and I need to keep that focus because I don't want to ever forget where I was and where I am now and how much I have to be grateful for. But as you think about challenges in your life, it doesn't have to be that huge. I mean, another challenge I've had honestly is cleaning. I am terrible at cleaning my house, and it's not that the house is dirty, it's cluttered. And I always have a challenging time with that. So I finally, this past week before I went to the mountains, I came up with a little plan that I finally got the house clean I'm going to stick to. Everybody's like, oh, just clean the house once and it'll just, keep it clean. Well, that's easier said than done for me. But now I have a little list And I'm going to try to give myself rewards each day if I clean what I need to get done. So it can be something just like that. You know, whatever it is the past month that you've struggled with, think about that and maybe take a little moment to write down what some of your challenges have been this past month. And lastly, what is your focus for the next 30 days? For me, I had kind of written down, I do need to slow down. You know, balance. Balance is important. I'm going to do a video on balance too. Balance is important. I need to slow down. I'm realizing I spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of time working on this. I love this. To me, this is so much fun. I love editing the videos. I love making the fun little thumbnails. And I do spend a good amount of time on it, and it's fun. And, I study these languages. And, even like with the Russian stuff, I was talking to my Russian neighbor the other day and I was frustrated I wasn't able to speak better. So I'm watching a lot of videos in Russian right now. And, I'm even going to bed and they have videos on YouTube about, learn Russian while you sleep. And I'm studying as I'm going to bed. And I was talking to AI, Gemini, and it was like, Brian, you need to relax. Even a hobby like studying languages, when you're doing that, even late at night, your brain is in go, 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 and you need to slow down. And so I'm going to try really hard over the next 30 days, before bedtime to turn off my phone. And I mean, I know to do that, but if I don't do a check in and say, am I doing what I said I'm going to do? And I have to write down my goals and write down what I'm going to do the next month. So I encourage you all to do the same thing. And then check in, where I'm going to keep doing these check ins because it's important for my personal development to stay focused. And I hope that you all will join me in that as well. That, yeah, even something as simple as committing to putting down my phone for an hour before going to bed and just not looking on YouTube, not studying languages, not looking at the news, just relax, have a cup of bedtime tea and relax because I haven't been balanced and I need to focus on that this next month as well. So what about you? What are some of your goals for the next 30 days? What is your focus going to be? Maybe leave a comment for us so we can see that. And it's kind of a way just to kind of commit. It's one thing to think about it when you write it down. Write it down in a notebook. You're committing to yourself. For me, it's kind of, I like the idea of putting a comment here on this video because it helps me commit not only to myself but to others. That whole concept of accountability. And then I want to come back and check in on us all in a month. And in fact, it won't even be a month since it's already the 11th. I'm going to try to do it in the beginning of September, and each month. And I love that practice. And I think it's important for a sense of gratitude to be able to back at what you've done and what you want to do and celebrate those wins because that's what's most important, I think, to stay focused. So, take some time, please write some comments about what your focus might be if you want to. I'd appreciate that. And I hope this is helpful for you all. I'm going to try to commit to being more balanced and staying more focused and not, I could sense that I was focusing on the numbers more. And that's not like me, but I was watching so many videos and starting to compare myself to others so that just like with the languages, AI was like, you can take a hobby and if you focus on it that much, you make it a chore. And I don't want making these videos to feel like a chore. I want it to be fun. And I want to refocus on gratitude, why I'm here, why I'm doing this, and building a community of like-minded people that focus on gratitude. I really appreciate your all's time tonight, or whenever you're watching this. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And next time I'll try to, be a little more concise. But I was, introducing this concept. So next time we do a check-in, you'll know what we're talking about. Uh, so I hope that this is a good start to your Monday. If you haven't done a check-in or anything so far this month, Monday night is a great time to start and write down and set a focus for this coming week. So I hope you'll do that. I appreciate my time getting to spend time with you all and learning and growing here, and I appreciate your all's patience. It's fun for me to look back on what I've done here and how much I've grown, and I enjoy sharing that with you all. So I hope that you all have an awesome week. And as always, I am grateful for each and every one of you all. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening and a wonderful, wonderful week.